Hi, my name is Donna, and on behalf of Blueprint Career Development, welcome to our personal development series. This little workshop is about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and it's a very old philosophy, but one that I think that we need to relook at because there's things in our environment that indicate that there's been some corruption, if you like, of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which may be contributing to a kind of general feeling of disease and discomfort with people. So let's just start with the understanding that Maslow believed that needs needed to be met in a specific sequence. So the sequence is on the little triangle in the image that you can see, with the first two levels, so physiological needs and safety needs, being the needs that we have for survival. And then the top three needs, so love and belonging, self esteem, and self actualization, to do with our growth needs. And Maslow believed that we needed to meet our physiological needs, in other words, our needs to survive, before we would even consider moving up that hierarchy. So, if we have a look at the first one that he said we needed to meet first, it's in quite logical order that we have to have air, water, food, sleep, sunlight, some sort of activity or exercise, if you like, and protection from the elements, so shelter, a home, and clothing. And without all of those things, we were unlikely to be able to physically survive for very long. Once those first level needs are met, Maslow proposes that our safety and security needs are the next thing that we are going to try and achieve. And that is to have personal safety and security, perhaps by way of employment, and certainly financial resources. So that's our two needs related to survival, two levels of needs related to survival. The next one is love and belonging, and that one's all about family, friendship, sexual intimacy, feeling that we are included and accepted by others. Once we have those needs met, once we have those needs met, we then move on to the self-esteem category. And self-esteem is all about how we feel about ourselves, and it's reflected in things like recognition, status, the respect that we receive from others, achievements that we may have attained, and our level of confidence. The last level on the hierarchy is the self-actualization needs. And that's the need that we have once all of those other levels are met, the need that we have to be authentically ourselves and the freedom to do that, empowerment. It reflects in unique creativity, in our morality, and our basic humanity to ourselves and to others. So I said before that I thought the needs had been somewhat corrupted. And so I'd like to go through each of those with a little bit of an explanation on why I believe that they have been corrupted. And we need to revisit personally how each of us are meeting those needs, and whether they're actually contradicting one another as well. So again, let's start with the basics, our physiological needs. So some problems that we have at the moment is, we have heavily polluted air and water. We have too much manufacturing and consumption going on. There's air conditioning, chemical sprays. We're using fossil fuels. We put fluoride in our drinking water. And the ocean has become a dumping ground for plastic bottles. So straight away there, our very basic need for air and water is problematic for many people. With regards to our food, a lot of it, and increasingly so, is quite nutrient degraded. It is mass produced, so it may also be genetically and hormonally modified. There's usually chemicals, preservatives and additives in a lot of our food. So we've stopped eating a lot of fresh food, certainly organic. We eat less of that than we probably should, and for many people it's because it's often more expensive. But nonetheless, the food that we're consuming, and if you think about your own diet, the food that we're consuming is not necessarily going to meet our physiological needs in order to remain healthy. At the moment, we also have very high levels of mental health in many communities, and those things can impact on our ability to have a good sleep and have regular rest patterns that reset our nervous system and allow our brain and body to function to its optimum. We also spend large amounts of time indoors with artificial light. And I guess in that regard, the Slip Slop Slap campaign did very well. The downside of that may mean that people are so fearful of sunlight because of the cancer scare that they're no longer getting the sunlight that they need and the vitamin D and so forth in order to be healthy. And the last one is shelter and clothing. I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, but they have become status symbols for people. So it's no longer just about having a comfortable home. It's about having a certain number of bedrooms in a specific location at a certain value. And as a result of that, there's big debt traps for people, both in home loans and also in credit card debt with clothing. So we've kind of moved that out of the realm of physiological and taken it into excess, if that makes sense. So our next level up is safety and security. And I think that's particularly of concern at the moment. We've got an ongoing apprehension and there's a fear of violence, wars, terrorism, all of which is perpetuated by the media. We're often poorly prepared for national disasters and natural disasters, floods, fires, the pandemic that's going on at the moment. All of these things are leaving people confused and destabilised and not feeling very safe and secure, whether that's true or not. We see an increasing evidence of child trafficking and human slavery globally, including in the Western world. So many people in our global community are not safe and they're not secure. As a result of some of these things, there's ever increasing legislation, regulation, rules, standards, and control, all in the name of keeping us safe. So, the introduction of tracking devices either on our phone or, there's some talk about research being done on tracking devices being inserted. We have central record keeping, for example, in our health system. And we have, ever increasing numbers of surveillance cameras throughout our communities, all in order to keep us safe, but also having an effect on people of them feeling like they're contained and trapped to a degree and in fear. And the last one with safety and security is, we've relied on our banking system for security with electronic money. And, for some people, that could become problematic, has become problematic, where, there's bank errors, where they've lost money and trying to track it down is difficult. If they don't have connection to be able to make deposits or withdrawals. So there is a big reliance of the banks keeping us secure. And in that reliance, we've kind of given over control of our financial independence to a large degree. Our third level of love and belonging, much as we would love to have all of those things, Statistics show an ever-increasing breakdown of the family unit, of communities, and all relational values. In fact, relationships and the way that they're managed are shifting, largely as a result of technology and centralisation and city living and so forth. So there's a disconnection of authentic relationships, kind of in favour of quite superficial interactions. So social media, we give up authentic relationships in the name of pleasure and entertainment. Unfortunately, we also see a lot of sexual disorders and intimacy dysfunctions. So, a society that still has pornography, pedophilia, sex being used as entertainment, or as a tool for manipulation, and, really unfortunately still many incidences of rape. All of these to do with love and belonging and, affecting us. Even if those things aren't happening, we know that they're kind of in our field or in our communities. So it's in our awareness. The other thing with love and belonging that I just want to mention is that we can often over-identify with a group. And when we do this, we can create divisions and separation. And this can apply, on a national basis. So, I can say, well, I'm an Aussie, so anyone who's an Aussie is kind of a them. It's an us or them kind of situation. So once I belong to my group, I'm therefore, I have a predisposition perhaps to then reject all other groups. And it is religion, gangs, sports teams, bisexual preference. So the minute we over-identify with one group, we create separation with other groups. And obviously this is to do with love and belonging. So the fourth one up on our scale is self-esteem. And so at the moment, we have the highest levels of mental health disorders in history, and that's climbing every year. So things like depression, anxiety, suicides, our self-esteem apparently isn't getting better. Something to be aware of as an individual and also as a friend and a community member. There's way too many people who report that they are not okay, but they are pretending that they are. Saying I'm all right, I don't need help, withdrawing, and not believing that they're okay just the way they are. There's something that they need to change. We have a competitiveness also that can result in people feeling only good about themselves when they've won. So, the competitive, I feel good because I got the job or the promotion. I got the boyfriend, even though all my friends liked him as well, that kind of thing. So it sets up I only feel good in comparison to someone else. Our self-esteem is also often tied to material possessions. So label clothing, high-end cars, big houses in the right suburb, whatever it is, lots of jewelry, whatever it is, we believe that more is better, higher is better, more expensive is better. And that reflects our self-esteem. So of course, when we don't get it, we start to feel bad about ourselves rather than just be disconcerted, if we have the latest brand handbag. We also have, impacting on our self-esteem, a really pervasive media portrayal of unrealistic imagery. So for example, on insurance ads, you'll see the quintessential happy family. So that sets us up with an imagery of what something is supposed to look like. So our family, if it doesn't look like that quintessential happy family, then obviously there can be some detrimental effect on self-esteem as well. And the unrealistic imagery goes to perfect bodies, ideal partners, whatever that looks like, and definitions of success. And so when we set up benchmarks that are unrealistic, our self-esteem can clearly suffer. The other interesting thing is there's been an explosion in the beauty industry, and that's all about changing, fixing, upgrading, and improving. And that industry tells people that they aren't okay exactly how they are. Um, so, and we're perpetuating that and we're buying into that. So, these things don't help us. Our last area, I'm not going to go into too much except to ask some questions, because really, how does anyone get here when they're still unraveling the mess of the preceding needs? So things like when needs are tied together, so my need for shelter being tied together with the status of having the best house in the nicest street, when those things are tied together, they are artificial, and can bias the way that we view ourselves and how we go about meeting, our needs, both our survival needs and our growth needs. So it's 4 questions up on here that's worth asking of ourselves. So the first one, how much of your own life do you feel that you can make choices about? And a good way to look at that is to listen to when you're saying things like, I should and I have to, because the minute you're saying those sorts of things, you're at least identifying to yourself a perception that you have no choice about many things. Are you being your fullest potential right now? So if you're not, when you have a think about that question, ask yourself next, why not? Number 3, do you have situations and people that trigger you into uncontrollable emotional states? Often, excessive anger or being really upset about something when somebody does or says something is a result of you feeling threatened in some way, that one of your needs is not being met. And that person is extracting something, which makes us react in that state. So the more triggers you have, probably the more things are worth looking about, whether they are triggers that are helpful or unhelpful. And the last one here is, are you comfortable in being your authentic self, even when you don't seem to fit? Even when it's uncomfortable, and even when the voice in your head is saying, I should be doing X, when the reality is that you are Y. So a couple of good questions. And if we just come back to our Maslow's hierarchy and, have a quick review of that, there's some things that I believe, could do better. The hierarchy seems to fit humanity. However, if we start from the bottom down, if we want to have our needs met to be healthy, whole, self-actualized people, then we need to have fresh air and fresh water and good food and enough sleep. All of the things that are on those lists, we need to have those things to care for ourselves. And if we need to have those things, we maybe should be questioning any of the activities that go on in our community that potentially is detrimental to those. So, things like pollution in the air and chemical sprays and so forth, are there better ways of doing that? Can we go for a walk every day in the fresh air if we have an office job and work inside? And sleep, are we getting enough restful sleep? And at times that fit with the circadian clock, and for shift workers, that's often quite difficult. Our personal safety and security, we have to question how much is our personal safety and security our responsibility, and how much do we want to give that role or responsibility to somebody else. And at times, we may give or entrust our safety and security to a partner, for example, who may be bringing in the financial resources for the family. We may entrust the government to hire a police force or police service to to keep us safe and secure in the community. But there becomes a limit where when you hand over the responsibility to somebody else, you also lose the empowerment for yourself. And it's an important question I think we need to ask ourselves of, can we really keep ourselves safe from everything that we could possibly imagine or is thrown at us in the media? Or do we want to pass off our freedom, which is the self-actualization section of this pyramid, in exchange for safety and security? We need to look at a lot of things about the way we relate with others and our loving and belongingness. We need to be obviously accepted by others, but that means us accepting others as well. And in order to accept somebody, you have to know who they are, and be okay that they're going to make different choices and that those choices have no reflection on you. Being included in a group, does that mean that we need to question where we're excluding other people, because then obviously their love and belonging needs are not taken care of? The recognition, status, respect, achievement, and confidence. I would say that the way we go about that, so doing that by having whatever the image of the perfect body, the perfect job, the perfect partner, dog, cat, house, and status, the way that we're going about that probably needs to be questioned. There's equally a capability for us to feel confidence and that we're good at something if we do more simple things. And that might be, some learning a musical instrument, or baking, or having a really nice conversation with someone. Those are the things that would healthily build our self-esteem, so that lies within us, rather than whatever the job title that we have and whatever the brand we're wearing. So I would ask each of you, to have a look at where you're getting your self-esteem, and is that a healthy place to be looking to achieve that need. And last of all is our self-actualization. And we didn't go into that too much because it is a really big topic. And in fact, this little workshop is part of our personal development series. We go into far more detail with Maslow's hierarchy and a number of other personal development type theories in our Certificate 2 in Self-Awareness and Development and our Certificate 3 in Personal Empowerment. So if you would like to know more about Maslow, do a Google search, because there's lots of information there. And, look us up on www.blueprintcd.com.au. And I hope you've enjoyed this short presentation, and good luck. Have fun. Enjoy life. Bye for now.